What's up, YouTube? Got my Camaro out today. I thought it'd be a good time to show you a tour. I've had this car for just over a year and a half now. It's been my primary vehicle. I've had a few beaters on the side, but at the moment I don't. It's got a few options on it, including the wheels, the sunroof, the paint, and the technology package. The technology package includes your Bose speakers and the 8-inch touchscreen as opposed to the 7-inch. This one's got the manual transmission. I chose that primarily to keep the cost down, but also because I thought it'd be more fun than the automatic. Another bonus is it doesn't go into 4-cylinder mode on this manual. The wheels they included are the 20-inch, they call it the 5 split spoke, black, kind of a satin black I think, and I really like them. They could be wider in the back, that'd be really nice, but since it's the LT1 it just comes with the 245 all-season tires all around. But until I can afford to get aftermarket wheels, at least they look good. Another thing I really like is the color. It's radiant red tint coat. It's got some pearl in it, really sparkles in the right lighting. And I figured it'd be a little less conspicuous than the rapid blue or the other red they had, without just being dull like a gray or a black. I'm pretty happy with that pick. And check out how the taillights, they just match. I think that's pretty cool. Here's a look at the interior. It's got the cloth seats. They're not heated or cooled, but since they're cloth, I don't mind that. I like the black. It's either this or a light gray you could have gotten. Most come in black though. The back seat you can see is pretty unusable. It works for my dog when I have to take her in here, but for a person, you would have to have someone up front in the passenger side who has their seat way up for it to work. Because where I sit, being over 6 feet tall, it just doesn't leave any room back there. More of a place to put stuff for me. Here's the sunroof. One thing that's cool about the 6th gens is, as opposed to the 5th gen, the sunroof doesn't compromise your headroom. That was one thing I was a little bit worried about when I was looking at this car, but I got in it and it was fine. Here's the gauge cluster. It's just taken out of the lesser models of the Camaro. Stops at 160. From what I've read, this actually has a speed limiter at 149 or so to accommodate for the V-rated tires it has. It's got the leather wrapped steering wheel, which I'm very thankful to get for this trim level. One thing I really think they could have done better is the center console. It's just tiny. You can't even fit a plus size phone in there, yet it has a USB port down there. Just funny. But when I'm not bringing anyone in the car, I just put it on the seat, so that kind of is my workaround. Has digital climate, single zone, but that's fine because it's a small car. I don't really mind. I like the sporty looking dash. It looks very retro, classic. Being pretty tall, my room's kind of limited, and when I'm on a long trip, my foot just kind of sits on the gas. There isn't really much room to put it anywhere else, and I gotta wear narrow shoes because of how small everything is down here. So that's one thing that would have been nice to do better, like how the Charger and Challenger are, but I know those are full-size cars. But I'll say this has just enough space. It's not too bad. It is a little bit cramped, but I am also kind of thin, so I can deal with it. And I've driven it all day a few times, like a 700-mile stint, 11 hours, 12, and I got through it. I would have been more comfortable in a truck, but for a sports car, and having all that fun, being able to get right on the highway real quick, it was alright. Here's another thing with the space. My arm is so long that I gotta kind of push it back to get to the windows. It's kind of funny. Now this car was picked from dealer stock. I wanted to order one and get the right amount of options without going too high on the price, but my dealer in town told me that it would take up to a year to get one, and they really didn't know exactly what but to expect the worst. So I just searched for dealers that had them coming in, and this was as close as I could get to my price and options that I was looking for. So I paid just under $41,000 for this car. They had a $750 rebate, and that was the only thing I was qualified to get. So at least I didn't have to pay over MSRP. Now I wouldn't have actually gotten the sunroof if I had the choice, but I don't mind having it. It is a $1,000 option, but it's cool to have. It's an extra window that opens since you only get the two otherwise. I would have liked the shape of the roof on the non-sunroof models. If you look at those, they have kind of a dip in the middle, and it looks really cool. This one, it just doesn't have it, being a sunroof. And this is the LT1. So you see it has the regular headlights, which I really like because they're blacked out and they're LED. Because if you get the RS or the SS, they're chrome, which I'm not really into. It's kind of old-fashioned these days. And then your bumper, it's just body color, black grille, black bow tie. And I also favor the LT1 bumper just because it's not insanely aggressive like the SS model. I think that one just has a little bit too much going on for me. Here are the floor mats it came with. They're just the carpet ones. I'd really like to get some rubber ones at some point. I have one over there, but that's not a vehicle-specific mat, so I didn't put the one in the driver's side. All the Camaros with the LT1 engine have this hood vents on here, and I think it looks really cool. And it is functional. You can see air goes right through there. It's basically a heat extractor. And this motor can get very hot, especially in the summer. I'll get out of the car and the catalytic converters underneath are just scorching hot. But here it is. It's not California emissions, so it does not have an air pump. And this intake tube, I like how direct it is. It's just, why do you even need to go aftermarket at this point? 455 horsepower, 455 torque. And in this light of a car, it's a real monster. The torque is just on tap at whatever RPM you want. It revs out to around 6,600 RPM. And it pulls all the way through. It's very linear. And it can sure spin the tires if you want to. Here's a nice little Easter egg, Chevy Performance. I think it's cool. The LT1s come with Brembos in the front, 4-piston Brembos, and they work very well. In the back, they kind of cheaped out though and left you with the standard GM brakes. And from what I've read, it'd be a pretty tough swap if you want to still have a parking brake. And for me, with a manual, I'd really want to keep that. So it's a little bit of a dead end, I guess. I had two recent police cars before this, a Charger and a Caprice, and this stops noticeably better than both of them, so I'm pretty satisfied with the brakes it comes with. Here's the trunk. It's a little bit of a tube. It's kind of narrow, but it's deep. And people do complain about how the taillights kind of take up the opening. But it's not bad. If you're going on a road trip, you can pretty much get the essentials to fit for your luggage. But it's not going to haul like a bicycle or anything like that. So it's limited, but it's decent nonetheless. And there is no spare tire on these Camaros. Not even an air pump. All they give you is run flat tires, which I just don't like that. Not even a donut or anything. Here's the exhaust. It's just the stock base level exhaust. It doesn't have that dual mode system that some people get. That would have been another $1,000. And I was trying to keep things low so I could afford it. And I did buy it brand new, so I was lucky to be able to get one at all. I looked into C6 Corvettes for a while before I went with this, but I figured the financing terms would be much better with a new car, and it would just have a lot less to worry about when you first get it. Wouldn't need repairs or anything for a good long time. And I've been pretty happy with it. I also checked out Mustangs, Chargers, and for the money, the Camaro was the best out of the three. And I love the big, throaty, torquey V8s they have. The Mustang one is a little bit smaller, and you gotta wind it out a bit more to get the power you want. It does take premium gas, as to be expected for a car like this. There was one time in Nebraska I had to get 87 because they just did not have premium at all in that small town I was in. And it ran fine, it just didn't have as much power on the highway. It would have been really cool if they'd done flex fuel from the factory with these. So I don't really want to install anything like that until the warranty's up at least. So now that I've had this a while, I feel like it's a really fun car. It doesn't do everything, but the handling is amazing, the power is amazing, and for the money it's hard to beat. And I'm glad I got one before they stopped making them. I feel really lucky for that. I'm not sure if they'll bring them back. They did the first time in 2010, but who knows what they'll do next. All you're left with is the Corvette, which is almost twice as much money as this car, and that can't even get a manual anymore, so I'm pretty satisfied with the car. I'll leave you all with a nice little exhaust clip.